Hello, welcome to Looking Behind the Mirror, where we explore narcissism and take our lives back as we make sense out of nonsense. As a quick disclaimer, I am not a professional. Everything I say is based on my opinions, my research, and my personal experiences. If you are in crisis, please seek professional help. I will provide links below. In today's video, I'm going to talk about something that happens to a lot of victims of emotional abuse, or really any kind of abuse. And that is this habit that some of us tend to form of blaming ourselves for the abuse. For somebody who's never been abused, this doesn't seem logical. It might seem confusing as to why somebody that was victimized by a predatory type of personality would feel like it was their fault or that they did something wrong. Why would someone blame themselves for being attacked, for instance? It doesn't seem to make sense until you're in that mindset. And the purpose of this video is, it's my attempt to reach out to anyone out there that's blaming themselves that might not even really realize that they're blaming themselves. I know for me, it took me a while to really see how I was blaming myself. I thought, I'm not blaming myself. I really didn't think I was. So I think that if you can identify the ways that you are blaming yourself, that you don't realize you're doing, that can really help you in your journey of healing. Some reasons that victims of abuse blame themselves. We're told over and over again in so many different ways that it's our fault. We are blamed for the way that we're treated. We are told over and over that I wouldn't treat you this way if you would just do this, if you would just do that. It's drilled into our heads over and over and over again. And I mean, that's a simple answer, is we've been brainwashed with this idea that it is all of our fault and that we are guilty of so many awful, terrible things, that we're this flawed, unlovable human being that just screws everything up no matter what we do. Nothing we do is ever good enough. When a victim of abuse says, nothing I do is ever good enough, I think it's easy to hear that phrase as nothing I did was ever good enough for the abusive person. But when we say that, sometimes we kind of believe it ourselves. And we might not even realize it, but we might believe, at least a little part of us might believe, well, nothing I did was ever good enough. And then there's this little voice behind it that says, you should have tried harder. If there is such a thing as evil, I think this is one of the most insidious and evil parts of emotional abuse, is this little voice that gets instilled inside of us that tells us, well, if you had just done that a little bit better, if you had just tried a little harder, did you really give it your all? Another component is that when you're living with an abusive person, you get into a habit of walking on eggshells. You have to develop these survival mechanisms of being hyper vigilant of anything that could possibly set this individual off. From crumbs on the kitchen counter to expired food in the fridge to, oh my gosh, one of the kids drank one of the Coca-Colas in the fridge and now he's gonna have a fit because they didn't ask permission because he's counting them all. I mean, just this hyper vigilance of every little thing that could possibly make this person abuse you, become abusive or angry. And part of that is looking at all the things that, quote, you're not doing good enough at. So you develop this habit where you almost don't even realize you're doing it all day, every day, looking at those dishes on the counter. Oh, I'm not good enough. I'm not a good enough housekeeper. I don't do the dishes enough. I'm a slob. I need to do better at that. He's gonna freak out, or she's gonna freak out. Guys, I say he a lot because most of my experiences have been with male narcissistic people, but just for the record, there is no gender discrimination. Narcissists can be male or female for sure. But getting back to what I was saying, when you have this habit of always being on the lookout for any little thing that could give away the idea that I'm not good enough, I didn't do good enough, I didn't clean that good enough, I didn't put that away the right way, I didn't work hard enough at that, oh my gosh, I'm not good enough, I'm going to get yelled at, I'm going to get punished somehow because I didn't do this good enough. I mean, that's another way that you can just be continually brainwashed with this idea that you're not good enough. And in this sense, it's actually a survival mechanism. You actually need to be on the lookout for all these little ways that you're not good enough in order to somewhat keep the peace and try to somewhat keep control over your environment. Another reason that we might blame ourselves is because most people don't really understand the ways that an abusive relationship can fall apart if they haven't been in one themselves. There's this phrase, "It takes two to tango," that I hate because I think for most people, when they say it takes two to tango, what it means is it takes two people to make a relationship work, and you can't go around blaming everything on the other person. You need to take responsibility for your half, and then you both work together, both take responsibility for your part, and then you can make the relationship work because it takes two to tango, and you both have to work on it to make it work. Well, in an abusive relationship, one person is actively sabotaging and destroying the relationship. And when someone on the outside doesn't understand that kind of dynamic, and they hear an abuse victim basically blaming things on the abuser, they might say an insensitive thing like, well, it takes two to tango. And as an abuse victim that's already been conditioned to believe that everything is his or her fault, that's like a slug in the gut. And part of you might believe it. Yeah, it takes two to tango. I guess I'm trying to blame things on them, but really it's because I didn't mop the floor enough, and my lasagna was bland, and the toilet was dirty, and I didn't buy the right kind of hot dogs. I mean, really, it's really that bad sometimes. The sentiment of the general public isn't supportive of an abuse victim being validated in the fact that you are a victim. You were abused by someone, and you didn't do anything to deserve that kind of abuse. It really is that person that has the problem, not you. You are lovable. You are good enough to be loved and respected and treated well. When you're told it takes two to tango, that person's basically invalidating all of that and suggesting, well, some of it's your fault. Another reason that you might continue to blame yourself is, despite all of the evidence and all the years of experience you may have with this person, it is really hard to really believe that this person was this angry, this vindictive, this unreasonable, this irrational over nothing. It's really hard to believe that there really wasn't anything you could have done to solve this problem, that there really wasn't anything that you did that caused this anger, because narcissistic individuals are so passionately emotional and angry. I mean, they express it in different ways. They're not all loud about it, but they're angry people. They're merciless. They're ruthless. They're very upset all the time. And it's mind-blowing to try to believe that they just were that way for no particular reason. I mean, their reasons are their own, and they're very deep and subconscious, and they have nothing to do with anything you did. And when this person is just livid and furious over the silliest little things that you did all the time, it's really hard to believe and accept that they really weren't angry about the things you did. It's really hard to believe that you were treated that badly, really for no reason. Because you were committed to this relationship and you loved this person and you wanted it to work. And it's not the way most people think. It's just so backwards to try to understand that the person you were with didn't feel the same way and doesn't value those things and does not appreciate your sentiment. It's hard to understand that nothing you did could have ever been good enough for this person, no matter what, no matter how great you were. You could have never been good enough for this person because the abusive individual is the one with the problem, not you. You can't overcome that. And I think lastly is that there's a little piece of us that doesn't want to give up control. If we can blame ourselves, then it kind of instills this illusion that we can do something about it. Once we really let go and say, this really wasn't my fault, there really wasn't anything I could have done about this, we have to give up a little bit of control, or a lot of control. We have to let go and say, there really is absolutely nothing I can ever do or could have ever done to make this work. Unless this person decides for his or her own reasons to completely change the entire way that they process information and treat people and regulate their emotions, it's impossible. Making this relationship work is impossible, and there is nothing I can do to accomplish that. It's hard to let go and fully accept that. And when we admit or accept that we are not to blame for being abused, we also have to accept that there is nothing we can do to control it. In conclusion, I just want to reiterate that abuse is not your fault. No one deserves to be abused, and pay attention to the little ways that you still might be critical of yourself. Those little moments of hypervigilance, or those little moments where your heart sinks, where you think, oh yeah, this was one of those things that really bothered them. I'm still not good enough. Think about how you feel about people that you care and love about, you know? Think about the things that you were picked on about, like maybe your car is dirty. Think about how you would view that same thing in someone you love. What if somebody you loved had a dirty car? Would you judge their character over that? Like your character's been judged? No. And that can help you see how unreasonable that really is. So I would encourage you to try to find the ways that it's possible you might still be blaming yourself, and then really work on those issues, because you deserve to heal, and you deserve to really fully believe and know that you are good enough, and you deserve respect. You deserve love. You deserve peace. You don't have to earn those things. You deserve those things just because of who you are. I hope this helps. If you like this material, please give me a like, comment, or subscribe. It helps me grow my channel and make more of these videos for you. Until next time, thanks. Bye.